I've been a longtime user of Onyx Boox products, and for the last few years, as they begin to continue to evolve and update in the e-ink technology space, I've really come to love their products. I mean, we would think about e-ink technology and we think about handwriting notes and digital planning and utilizing these devices. We're actually kind of reminded of the old Etch-a-Sketch, right? The old ability of taking that drawing when you're in the back of your parents' Oldsmobile and driving to grandma's house through Christmas and playing with the Etch-a-Sketch and trying to draw little squares and little triangles. Okay, it's come a long way. That's not how it is, but that's how it is for me, right? But no, I'm floored by what's happened in the last few years. When I was first introduced to Onyx Boox, it was the Air 2 Plus, and that device was very exciting. But in the last few years, they've not only made the product stronger and better with the Ultra line, but they've introduced color. And when I look at this, and I look at e-ink, and I see all the benefits of it, I get really excited. So let's look at this new one. So here's the new device. I mean, the form factor is just, it's slick. It's smooth. It has power button on the side, charging port over here, an expandable slot here, has speakers, so if you want to listen to any audiobooks or if you have some music, you can definitely do that as you're taking notes. And it's just, overall, it's just a very light device. The bezel on the left side here, it does allow you to rotate the screen, so you can go into your settings here, and if you want to choose to rotate the screen, you have various rotations that you can do. So if you are someone that is left-handed, you could definitely do that with this device. And it uses Android 12. So what's really cool about using Android as the operating system versus other e-ink devices like the Supernote or the Remarkable that have their own proprietary software, this allows you to be able to jump into, like, say, the Google Play Store, and now you have access to all the apps that Android has on the Google Play Store, which really introduces a few of my favorite apps, which we'll talk about here in a minute. One of them being OneNote, and the other being Penly. These are two really awesome apps that you can use for note-taking, in addition to the note-taking app that's already on the device itself that Onyx Boox has made. Now you have some other things where you can go ahead and access the web browser. You can do that. You can also go ahead and have a dictionary. You can access Kindle, which I think is really powerful. So you can go ahead and download the Kindle app from the Play Store, and now you have access to have an e-reader device and have access to your entire Kindle library. In addition, like I mentioned before, you could even listen to audiobooks. One thing I commonly do is I will have an audiobook playing, and then I'll be taking notes and just jotting down my thoughts and my ideas of what is kind of processing in my mind as I'm reading these books. Now, one thing that I really think that makes this product stand out, besides the fact that it's in color, is I can go into settings here and I can adjust the brightness as well as the temperature of the screen. Where this is really helpful is if I'm in, say, my bed at night and I'm reading a book and I don't want all that blue light distraction, I can do that by bumping up the warmness, and I can also reduce the brightness. But that's something you just can't do with other e-ink devices like the Supernote or the Remarkable. In a no lit situation, you have really no way to see your content. And we've illustrated that a number of times, and we don't need to get into it again, but I just think that's backlit feature of this device is something that's very powerful. Now, the case that comes with this, the one that I have, you know, it's unique. It works. It does the trick. The stylus, there's two different styluses. It comes with the standard stylus, but you can get the premium one that has the eraser tip. I personally like that one. I just become more comfortable with it over the last few years as I've been able to use it. So this is the nature of the device. There's really not much to it. The battery life is what I would expect out of an ebook device. But what does it look like to actually start to write and utilize this for note-taking? So we can jump into the generic note app here for you and just take a peek at that. Now inside the app here, I can create a notebook, and I can choose to have lines. I like Cornell notes in this case, so I'm going to hit create, and then this is my notebook here. Now across the side here and across the top, I have different tools that I can use. I can choose my pen tool. In my pen tool, I can choose what type of brush I want to have. I like the roller ball effect. I can choose a color, and I can choose a line thickness. And sometimes this takes a little bit to get used to. So I'll just write a note here, and maybe I feel that's good, but maybe some people might be like, nah, I want to make that a little thinner. You can do that. To me, that is a little too light. Maybe you want to make it a little thicker, you could also do that. So this gives you the idea to have that. That feels more like a marker in my opinion, but just gives you an idea that you can really change that and customize that. You can even, change the color. So if you wanted to have maybe a color like this here in orange, you could write like that as well. So you just have to kind of find your settings, and they kind of stay in there as you utilize them, and you gotta figure out what brushes you want. And you can even go ahead and kind of create your own pen tool. So I'm just gonna go through here, and I'm just gonna have a couple of them I'm gonna create, just so you can see how that works. Maybe this case I wanted to choose to have a highlighter. I wanted to choose to have this color here. I'm gonna make that a lot bigger because everybody wants a big highlighter. So now I can basically jump between my written note, and I can choose my highlighter then and have that here. Now with this particular pen, I can go ahead and flip it over and actually erase my annotation. If I wasn't using this pen and the one that came with it, then I could choose to use the eraser. And again, there's the ability to choose the thickness, if it's a stroke, if it's the lasso. I think the lasso is kind of neat because if you're doing a bigger area, I can kind of just like pick what I want to erase, versus if I want to use the lasso, or sorry, the stroke, then it's only going to erase like the individual strokes that I created as I was writing. And sometimes I find that is a little bit of a slower process when using e-ink, versus if I know what I want to erase, I'm just going to go ahead, choose this lasso, and erase it all and just be done with it. So that's kind of a look at this particular app. Now it doesn't really synchronize with any other devices, which is common for like e-ink devices. Like Remarkable doesn't synchronize with other devices, and neither does Supernote, but it still allows you to have the note on here, and then you can back it up to your account if you choose to. And there's also the ability to add some additional things as far as like recordings, and you can add pages. In addition to creating your own notes in libraries, you can go into, I have into my library here. I've actually imported in my library, which you can do from the interface of the device. There's the ability that you can actually either plug into it or send a file to the device as long as you're connected to the same Wi-Fi network. But I actually imported my own PDF files, which I imported in my planning system. So I can load that. It's going to load in the Reader app here, and I can actually utilize this device in the note-taking app that comes with it to say, write out coffee with Tom. So if I want to use the standard note-taking app to do that and have a planning system on the Onyx Boox, I can do that with our planning system, or any planning system for that matter. The one thing I will tell you, to utilize them, you need to get a PDF interactive planner, which that's going to also allow you to do then is if you want to click on any of the hyperlinks, you can click on these individual links and they'll take you to the individual pages of the planner or different sections in the notebook. One thing that we do with our planner is we have the ability where you can actually like write out a note. So this was the meeting with Tom. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that in here. If I click on this one, it'll actually take me to the meeting page that's designated to be my meeting with Tom. So that's one thing that's really unique about our planning system. I'm going to jump back to the home screen. So from the home screen here, I'm going to go into my apps, and two apps that I commonly use when it comes to note-taking is OneNote and Kindle. And what is really the difference between those two? Let me explain real quick. OneNote is a universal application that you can use across Windows, Apple, and Android. So if you are using your Onyx Boox and you want to be able to synchronize these notes across other devices, say your Windows desktop computer or your Apple iPad, or you want to be able to synchronize this with another Android device, like maybe your phone, OneNote's going to give you that capability to do so, and it's going to keep the integrity of the notes intact. So I can go ahead and open up OneNote here, and from here I can go ahead and I can choose, like say for example, today's date. So here's today's date. Here is my planner, how it looks like. And with OneNote, I still have some of the same abilities to choose different pens. I can choose different colors. I can choose different line thicknesses. So I can go ahead and say, pick up cheese. It's the holidays coming up here in central Wisconsin, and I have a lot of friends that travel to Wisconsin, and they all love our cheese. Matter of fact, in the last video, I was eating cheese. If you follow any of our videos, you're gonna find that cheese is a very important topic. With that being said, I'll just kind of jump right into it. Guys, if there's something you found in this video so far or yet to find, please do me a favor, hit the like button. That'll help share out this type of content. If this content is something that you like, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We cover everything from tech reviews about different products to productivity tips on how to be more productive with your weekly and monthly planning, to just how to utilize the combination of handwritten, these paper-like devices to improve your life. So if that's something you're into, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, get to know me a little bit, jump on my Facebook, look at our photography. It's all fun, it's all good, we're gonna have a good time. And if you have any questions, hey, jump on our website, start a chat with us, or hit the comments about this device, planning, whatever the nature is. Myself or somebody in the community I know will definitely reach out to you. So jumping back in here, with OneNote, I have a lot of the same functionalities. I can go ahead and write. Now, the application on Android when it comes to OneNote is a little pared down. It doesn't have all the features that you would have, like converting the text and such that you would find in the desktop application. But if you're looking for an app or the ability to synchronize across a selection of platforms, then this is the way to go. You really have the ability to utilize the tools for general note-taking, writing, highlighting, erasing, and then that last little tool, which is so critical from being able to take notes from one page to the next page. Now, in previous books devices that I've used, the refresh rate when it came to writing on the screen was kind of less than favorable. And sometimes I still do find a little bit that I just have to do a little bit of a refresh to make that happen. And then once it happens, it works pretty good. How to write on the screen. Now, it pulls up pretty good, or I find sometimes if I want to make that process a little faster, I'll just open and close it, and then if I write again, it's pretty instantaneous. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but I find that a quick restart often fixes that issue that sometimes shows up. But if you don't, it's all based on how you have your refresh tools set up here, and you can always refresh your screen just to give that more clarity. But the color aspect of doing this, I think, is huge, because now, as you can see, when I look at my planner, I'm able to see those highlights, see those notations, and be able to call out the different things that I have on my plate for the day. So now let's take a look at Penly, is the other app that I wanted to show you. Now, what's unique about Penly is a little bit more a diverse application. It has the ability for you to synchronize across other Android devices, relatively speaking. So if you have an Android tablet that you want to synchronize with, you can do that. The writing interface is relatively the same and has the same tools as far as selecting a pen, choosing a thickness, again, utilizing that color of the 3C. It has the same ability to highlight. It does have the eraser tools, has the ability to create shapes and use the lasso. But when it comes to writing in this device, I think overall writing on this device is very favorable. The screen itself has a very matte finish feel, and it's actually, I believe from what they've explained to me, it's kind of like double layered. So not only does it have like this matte finish, non-gloss display, if you listen real closely, you might hear it. It does have a little bit of a sense that I'm drawing on it. You can hear it better when I erase. But that screen really does do a nice job when it comes to actually being able to write out notes. And I wrote a list of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about this device actually on here. And I guess I'll just kind of run through that, some of the highlights for you. First off, this device is under $500. I think that's huge when you compare to other e-ink devices, especially when you factor in the fact that not only is this an e-ink device, but it's also one that's backlit and it's in color. Two big pluses. As far as the device goes, being able to use it for note-taking, being able to set up the ability to utilize other apps with the Play Store, like Kindle and audiobooks, because of the speakers that are on it, just makes it, again, another dominant device. That backlit screen, I cannot talk to you enough about that. The overall sharpness, especially when you go ahead and just every now and then refresh the screen, and you can change in the control settings under Ink Center how often that occurs. You can change the different quality of the screen, which is something you can't do in a lot of other e-ink devices. I go into high quality. I mean, that is really sharp. I mean, you can literally, if I zoom in, you can see my individual handwritten strokes, and that is some pretty solid quality. But that does kind of slow down the refresh rate. And often when I'm sometimes writing, I want to be in more of a fast or an ultra fast mode. Quality is still really sharp, but just giving a little more speed and flexibility when it comes to utilizing the app. to make annotations on. The last thing I'll touch on, it doesn't come with a keyboard. It is Bluetooth, and with various apps you download, you could go ahead and plug in a keyboard if you choose to. But for me, as well as a lot of people that look at these devices, we're using them for note taking. And that is the whole premise, because what's big about note taking is the fact that for so long, over the last few years, we found ourselves with our tablets and laptops in front of us, and we'd be keystroking, and that creates an interference in the dialogue that's taking place between you and me. But if I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes about what we're talking about, not only do I look engaged, because I am engaged, but now I'm able to remember the notes that I'm taking better because I'm able to document them. You're more likely to remember something that you write down, and you're more likely to execute an action plan that you illustrate. So that's probably why I feel that handwriting and e-ink devices are so important. Then when you encompass those with a planner, it really helps you structure your overall process. So the last thing I'll tell you about Penly that I feel that is unique about it is that it does have the ability to create some hyperlinks. So if you want to be able to link from one page to the next, that lasso feature tool I think is brilliant, as it is on every single device that we've kind of showcased today. Being able to copy and move from one page to the next, I just think is something that is really important. So if you are looking at an e-ink device, either this season of your life or for somebody else, you're probably going to want to look at the Onyx Boox 3C. I think it's a fabulous device. When you start to compare that to other ink devices, the questions you have to ask yourself: is the backlit important? I think that's big. Is the color important? Do you want to have speakers? Do you want to be able to connect to the Google Play Store? And do you like the OS of Android? If you start to answer more of those as yes, and you want to be able to use like apps like OneNote and Microsoft Word and have those connected features, and you want that e-ink device, the Onyx Boox is probably the right choice for you. If you're looking for just a down and dirty tablet, handwritten e-ink device, well, then the Remarkable or the Super Note might be something you want to consider. But then for the comparison in cost and the extra features that comes with this, I'll leave that decision to you. Matter of fact, you tell me what your thoughts and decisions are. And not only is there this product, but there's several other different products that Onyx makes in the Boox lineup that might be slightly tailored differently to you. With that being said, guys, I'm Branden Bodendorfer, creator and founder of the Key2Success Planner. As we kind of dove through this video a little bit, we talked a little bit about planning, but we didn't really dive into it. If you want to get to know me a little bit better and learn about planning and learn how you can change the amount of productivity and your focus each and every week, so that really the vision that you have for yourself is something that you can stamp out over the next year, go ahead, check out our website. The link is in the description, and get to know what we do there a little more. With that being said, Lord willing, I hope to see you guys in the next video. I hope you liked and subscribed to this channel. If you got questions, go ahead and hit the comments. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you.